Hey everyone, this is Ankush Sharma, and today we will see how we can write the call, apply and bind function in JavaScript from scratch. So let's see. First we will see the call method. So call method is used to call the function, and what is special about it, if we want to refer this keyword under the function execution to refer to some particular object, so that can be handled using the call method. So let's see. Here we have the function abc, and let's suppose here we are passing some arguments also. I will use a spread operator here for the arguments, and let's suppose here we are consoling this, and here we have the arguments. So let's try to call abc function without call method first, and let's see what this value refers to. So here we are calling the abc function with two parameters 2 and 5, and let's see what values we get. So here this is referring to the window object, and whatever the parameters we are passing here 2 and 5, those also we are getting as a 2 5, right? Now let's suppose there is one object here which is having a as a key and with the value 10. So what I want to do, I want to execute the abc function where this refers to this particular object. So let's try to call this method using call method here. I will pass the object here, and the parameters I can pass like this. Now let's try to run this code. Cool. Now see the difference. When we are calling the abc function without call method, so this is referring to window object, but when we are using the call method to execute the abc function and passing the object, in that case this is referring to the particular object that we are passing here, right? So this is the use case of call, apply, even bind method also. Now let's try to write the call method from scratch. So for that we need to write the call function under the prototype of the function, right? So let's suppose this is our function constructor. Here we have the prototype, and here let's suppose call2. This is a new name we are giving to the our call method, and here we will give one function, and this function expect the context, this context. So here we are writing the generic method, right? And we don't know the developer how many arguments they will pass. So for that we can use the spread operator here, and we can take the arguments. So to write the logic we need to understand one thing. So how this refers to particular object. So value of this always refer to the object which is calling that function. Let's suppose here we have object, and if this object is calling some function, so let's suppose abc, in that case this under this abc always refer to this object. Now let's suppose in future we have like object2.abc, so in that case also when we are executing the abc function, so this will refer to object2. So if we are calling the abc function directly, so in that case this will refer to the window object. So the same kind of logic we can try to write here. So what we can do, so one thing is there, if we are writing the call to under the prototype of function, right? So this under this function will refer to the function itself. This will point to function itself, right? So now what we can do, we can create a new property under this context, and we can assign this function to that new property. So let's suppose what we can do here, so new function property we can create, and we can assign this function to this new property of this context. And after that if we run this new function, so this under new function will always refer to this context, and here we can pass the arguments also. Cool. Now let's try to run our code, our new call to function. So I will take call to here, object we are passing here. Cool, now let's try to run. Cool, now our logic is somewhat working. So here if you see, when we are calling the ABC function, it is getting executed first, and object, this is referring to this object, but it is creating new property that we created here, new function, right? And the arguments are same. Now this logic has the side effects. If I console the object after that, so it will persist our function here. So the new object is containing the new function also, right? So what we can do after calling the new function, we can delete the new function key from this context. Now let's try to run. Cool, so after executing the new function, we are deleting the new function, so we will restore our original object here. So there is another problem with this solution. If we already have new function as a key in the context that we are passing here, so let's suppose new function is already present as a key in this object, right? So how we can avoid that problem? So for that we can use the symbol data type. So what is the symbol data type? We can create the symbols using the keys, and it will always return the unique symbol values to us. So let's play with symbol little bit. So let's suppose here we have symbol with key A. So I can give any key here, and if I compare it with the character A, so it won't be equal. So both are different values here. Even if I compare two symbols with same keys, so those will also be different. So here we can take the example symbol A, we can compare with the same symbol A, so both will be different. So both are different here. So we can use a symbol data type here to create the different key for this context. So what we can do, we can take the new function here and we can create the constant, and here we can create symbol with new function. Now we can use this symbol as a key in the context, and we can assign our function, and when we call our function, we will use the same symbol here, and when we are deleting, so we will use the same symbol again. Now let's try to run. Cool, so here we are getting the same results. So this is our correct solution. So what we did, we created one symbol with the unique value, and we make it as a new key under the context that we are passing from the function, from the call function, and we assign our function to that particular new key, and then we call the function with the arguments, and then we delete the key from the context. Cool, so that's how we can write our call function. And now come to the apply method. So apply method is also same like we have call method, but here the arguments we can pass as a array. So we can take the same example here. Let me comment this code, and now let's try to focus on apply. And here I have the same function ABC with 25, and object is there. Now I will use apply here, and here I will pass the arguments as an array. Cool, now let's run this. Cool, so for the first time, if I'm calling ABC without apply, I'm getting the window object with the arguments, and if I'm calling ABC function with the apply, I will get the context that we are passing from here, and we are getting the arguments also. Now let's try to write the apply method from the scratch. So I will use the same kind of logic here that we used for the call. So here I will take apply to, and again this will refer to the function itself, and here we create the, so one thing is there, so here we are just passing the one argument as an array, right? So we can take arg like this only, and then we have this context with the new symbol, and we are assigning the function here, and then we are calling the new function with the arguments, and that we are spreading, and after that we will delete the new function key from this context. Cool. So now let's try to run it. We will use the same thing, and here let's try to call apply to, and here we will pass as an array. Now let's try to run. Cool. So here we are getting the same results. So we are getting the arguments also, we are getting the context also, and our object is also restored to the original keys. Great. So now we can see the bind method. So bind method is also kind of similar to call and apply, but bind function will return you the function that you can call later with the context that you are passing to the bind function. So let me comment this code. I can take the same example that we have, and now here let's try to use the bind. So bind will return you another function, new abc, and I will call the bind with some context. So I will take the same object that we were using, and here I have the object, and here I can pass the parameters also, let's suppose 2 and 5. And now let's try to call abc with 2 and 5, and let's try to call new abc with 2 and 5. Let's see what happens. Now see the difference. In ABC, this is referring to the window object like we saw before also, and this under new ABC will always refer to the object that we had passed here. Cool. Now let's try to implement it. Again, we need to write the new bind function under the prototype of function constructor. So bind to, here we have the function, here we have this context, and here we are passing the arguments. I can spread it, and now if you see bind to is returning the function, right? So I will return another function from here. Now see the difference here. When I bind abc function, I pass 2 and 5, right? And when I call new abc with 2 and 5, so all those arguments gets concatenated, right? 2 5 2 5. So what happened here, we are passing the arguments like 2 and 5, and this function also we can pass the arguments, right? So let's suppose arg2, we can give the name. So what we can do here, we can take our function in some variable, so, and that we can access through this, and now we will call this function with apply method, and we can pass this context, and here we can concatenate the arguments using spread operator. Cool. I think this should work. Now let's try to run. I will copy this code and comment it, and let's try to run it here. I will use bind to. So here we are using the object, that is fine. 2 5 are the parameters we are passing. New abc is the function that is returned from bind to. Here we are calling abc without bind, and here we have new abc that is written from bind to. Let's try to run. Cool. So here it is working. So under abc, this is referring to window object, and the arguments we are getting 2 5, and the function that is returned from bind to, so this is referring to the object that we are passing here, and here the 2 5 parameters we are passing, and again here we are passing, so those are concatenated, right? So like we get from the original bind function. Cool. So that's it, guys. Today we implement the call apply bind method from scratch in JavaScript, and we saw the application of symbol data type also, that is mostly used in the libraries and when we are writing the generic code. Hope you learned something new today. That's it for now. Bye.